The following morning, Nigel, Mark, and a female in a camouflage uniform began running down the hallway until they reached Anna's prison door. Breathing heavily and standing nervously and quietly outside Anna's prison door, the woman in camouflage looks at Nigel and says, "I swear to fucking God, if she is dead, open it now." Nigel then puts the key in and slowly opens the door. In the center of the room, Anna lays naked and unconscious over a pool of blood. The woman in camouflage slowly walks towards Anna, looking at the other prisoners. She yells, "Who did this?" The room breaks out in laughter as the 6-foot, one-armed man, who appears to be holding a clump of Anna's hair in his one and only hand, steps forward, bends down, and grabs Anna's limp wrist as he begins to drag her away. "We're taking her back," yells Nigel, as he also grabs Anna's wrist. The tall man headbutts Nigel, knocking him to the ground. Mark, then in a quick motion and without warning, pulls out his gun, firing one shot into the side of the tall man's head. He immediately falls to the ground. The other prisoners begin to gasp in shock, followed by a silence, broken only by Nigel, who groans as he wipes blood from underneath his nose and says, "Okay, let's lift her up and get her out of here." The steady, quiet sound of medical equipment is broken by Nigel, whose nose is bandaged, holding a blood-soaked cloth underneath it. Says, "Sophia, just listen. We never got any orders about this Anna person. We thought she was a spy for the Jinns." Sophia, still wearing her camouflage uniform, paces back and forth, says, "When our unit shot those Jinns out of the sky, we sent an immediate order to all recovery crews that any survivors were to be interrogated, not beaten, not killed, or whatever else those sick bastards did to her. You and Mark better pray she makes it, or I'm sure it won't be long until you two will be in the same cell we just took Anna out of." Nigel wipes a little more blood from his nose, leans back in his chair, and says, "So what's the big deal about this Anna?" Sophia sits down in another chair next to Nigel and says, "Shortly before my unit arrived this morning, we were sent Anna's medical results. She has 0 genetic engineering markers. In fact, the only type of treatments of any kind we found in her system, the lab is still trying to identify. But one thing they are sure of is the medicine in her system isn't made anymore and hasn't been in use for hundreds of years." Nigel squeezes the space between his eyes with his thumb and middle finger. "Holy shit. So she was telling the truth. She really is from 500 years ago," says Nigel as he looks at Anna's bruised and battered body hooked up to various medical machines. "Yeah," says Sophia, "and for some reason the Jinns brought her back. We've been at war with the Jinns for the past 300 years, generation after generation, fighting and losing many on both sides. Humans have never showed any mercy to any man, woman, or child Jinn, and the Jinns have showed even less mercy when it comes to how they treat us humans. And yet Aluka and the rest of the Jinns go to the ends of the earth searching for a cryogenically frozen human, find Anna, bring her back, and from what Anna told you, they treated her very kindly. But why? The Jinns have always thought of humans as lower, unevolved life forms. Why would they ever bring a human back to life? Anna could be the key to ending this war. She's the only one who could possibly answer these questions." Knock, knock. As the door opens slowly, Mark enters. Sophia then stands up and says, "So, any news?" "Yeah, the doctors say they stopped the internal bleeding. All we can do now is wait." "Oh, and one other thing. Nigel, remember when you said Anna told you she hasn't been able to walk since she first awoke with DeLuca?" "Yeah," says Nigel. "Well, about that." "Damn it, Mark, spit it out," says Sophia. "Well, the doctors said they found trace amounts of a possible bacterial infection in Anna's lower spine area. They say it could have blocked movement signals to her lower extremities. It's mostly gone now, so there isn't enough left for them to study it. They believe the medicines used to stabilize her after her and the Jins were shot out of the sky likely treated the bacterial infection before it could cause any permanent damage." Nigel looks across at Anna, who's laying unconscious in her hospital bed, and says to himself, "So she was telling the truth about not being able to walk also." Before he looks over at Sophia and explains how they didn't believe her because earlier the night before they saw Anna sleepwalking on the cameras. Sophia then grins and says, "Well, it seems us unevolved humans are medically more advanced than the Gens. I guess that's what happens when you trade out technological advancements for pure genetics. Trying to grow everything you need out of your own body." Mark, who's still standing in the doorway, replies, "It's a good thing we got Anna when we did. Another week of being paralyzed and DeLuca probably would have treated Anna's condition by making her grow 2 giant kangaroo legs." Nigel and Sophia begin to break out in laughter at Mark's statement. Mark, still standing in the doorway with a serious look on his face, always serious and never being one for joking. He simply responds, "Well, call me if you need me. I'm gonna grab a couple guys to help me clean up our dead guy in the cell. I can start to smell him in the hallway." Nigel and Sophia stop laughing and look back at Anna as Mark leaves, closing the door behind him. Anna is sitting cross-legged in the grass, sips her coffee out of a small white cup. Before she throws the remaining coffee in the bottom of the cup forward, it passes through an invisible barrier, and as the coffee travels through the air, it begins to freeze, landing on the shaded part of the grass, forming a long, solid icicle-like form. Anna slowly moves her hand forward, reaching out towards the icicle, before letting out a deep gasp and quickly pulling her hand back. She clenches her hand and begins to rub it with her other hand. "Anna! Anna!" yells Sophia in the distance. Anna then closes her eyes with annoyance and sits still, ignoring Sophia. Sophia, breathing heavy and running, says, "What are you doing out here? Everyone is looking for you." "Anna, did you hear me?" Anna, still sitting quietly with her eyes closed, doesn't respond. "Anna, we have to go. I know you don't agree with us, but it's for the best. This is the only option humanity has left. So one day maybe we can live in a normal world with humans and only humans again. We can never get rid of the clouds on the other side of the barrier as long as we're putting all our resources into fighting the Gens. Anna, are you listening to me? Look, more soldiers are arriving and they are not going to leave you out here to die. If you refuse to come back, they're just going to carry you back." "Come on, let's go," says Sophia as she grabs Anna's arm. Anna then yanks her arm away and stands up and begins to walk in the direction Sophia wanted. "It's okay," Sophia yells to a group of approaching soldiers as she walks behind Anna. The group of soldiers then walk away towards a large crowd of thousands of people who are all entering a large underground bunker. Just the entrance alone of this bunker looks as if several commercial airliners could easily fly inside. Anna, still mad, approaches the back of the large crowd, followed by Sophia. "Look," says Sophia, "it's not your fault." Anna responds, "I just want to be left alone." The large crowds of thousands of people continue to walk down into the bunker. There is some laughter, and also there is some with a heavy look of worry on their faces. As the last few people enter, a heavy silence comes over the crowd as they all look up out the entrance of this bunker. Mark and Nigel then approach behind Anna and Sophia. "What's going on? Why did everyone just get quiet?" "Shh," says Sophia. "Listen." The sounds of wings flapping quietly in the distance grow louder and louder as soldiers outside of the bunker begin to yell, followed by gunfire as someone yells, "Shut the door!" A large explosion shakes the entrance to the bunker as the crowds begin to scream and run in all directions. In the confusion, some run back outside as the large metal and concrete bunker door slowly closes. Anna, Sophia, Mark, and Nigel stand inside but close to the entrance as soldiers stand outside the entrance firing their guns into the sky. "No!" yells Anna as a mother and her small child run back outside the bunker. Anna attempts to run after them, but is held back by Nigel and Sophia. "We have to help them," yells Anna. "Nothing we can do," says Mark as he holds a large rifle pointed up at the entrance. The door still closing, then a soldier runs towards the entrance, about to enter, when suddenly a large flying winged male djinn swoops down on him, slicing his head off with a sword. More soldiers scream outside and a second winged male djinn flies down into the entrance of the bunker. This one, holding a bloody discarded soldier's rifle, begins to fire the weapon into the crowded entrance. The screams and cries grow loud, then Nigel jumps on top of Anna, pushing her to the ground. Mark opens fire, striking the winged male creature several times until he falls, stumbling down on top of the old man. The djinn, dropping his gun, uses his sharp talons at the tip of its wings to repeatedly stab and puncture the old man's chest and neck. Mark continues to fire his weapon into the creature until it lets out a loud gasp of air. The door almost closed now, and with several soldiers attempting to enter before being carried away by winged creatures, Anna looks up and sees Aluka riding on the back of a winged female djinn hovering in the sky. She can see Aluka holding the little girl who escaped earlier with her mother. Aluka holding this small child by the wrist high up in the sky as the small child screams and cries. "Aluka," says Anna. As Aluka looks directly into Anna's eyes before she purposefully lets go of the little girl's wrist, and she falls to the pavement. With a loud thud, broken, bloodied, and lifeless, the bunker door then closes.